What's up, you guys? Welcome back again. And I know I'm in your space. I'm sorry, but I'm not also sorry. Hello, if you see me for the first time, my name is Chichi. I am a female fashion content creator based in Nigeria. I make fine clothes. Yes. So today we are making this strapless gathered gown. Let's start. So firstly, let's talk about measurements. Now I'm using a gown length of 38. So my gown length is 38, like I said. The half length, which is shoulder to waist, is 17 for me. So I'll minus that. And what I'm trying to do here is get the length of the gathered part, which is the down part of the gown, okay? So now I'm adding 2 inches for seam allowance. That's 23 inches. So the length we are using for the gathered part is 23 inches. Take that down. Now, the next thing we'll talk about is the width. The width will be 2 or 3 times of your waist. So for my waist is 38, I'll approximate that to 40 and times that by 2.5, and I got 100 inches. So the width of this fabric we're going to cut will be 100 inches and the length will be 23 inches. I'll use my piece of paper to demonstrate how we'll cut this fabric. How we'll cut the down part on fabric, okay? So this part I'm measuring here, I'll use as my width. I'll just mark the 100 inches which we calculated, and then this will be my length, 23 inches. Now you can actually cut your fabric like this and just gather this into your waist measurement, but for me, I want to have a side seam for pockets. So to do that, you fold your width into 2 and cut it open. So now we have 50 inches width on each paper. You take one out for the front. This one will be for the back. You fold it again into 2 and cut it open. So now for the back, we have 2 pieces, 25 inches width each. Sorry. So this is my front of 50, the side 25, and the other side 25. So when we sew the both sides close, and this will be our zipper. So now taking this off the way, let's draft our upper bodies. So for the upper bodies, I use my full scale basic block, which I have the tutorial on my channel. I'll link that down below. For this, we are using just from the shoulder to waist. So I duplicated my pattern from shoulder to waist. For the front, for the side of the front, I added about 1 inch extra because when you close your bust dart, there's always shortage of fabric. So like I said, my full scale tutorial is on my channel. You can check that out. I'll just post the link down on the description box below. So now let's start working. We'll first work with the front. The first thing I'm doing here is adding 1 inch extra from my chest line upwards on the armhole area for more coverage of the boobs. If you're working for a plus size person, I would advise you do this. Now I'll mark half of my shoulder measurement and I'll connect that with a straight ruler to my bust point. The next thing you want to consider here is the coverage for your boob. So for me, from the chest line, I went up by 2.5 inches. That's enough for me. From the chest line on the center front, I also went up by 1 inch. So like I said, it's the amount of coverage you want to have. On the midpoint of the shoulder line, we will contour the over bust area by half of an inch on both sides. Connect the center front area to the center dart and connect the other parts to the armhole. So from the armhole on the side, I came up by 1 inch for more coverage of the boobs. Now I'm connecting my armhole. The next thing I'm doing now is to connect my over bust dart. I'm connecting this dart 1 inch above the bust point. Now we'll go ahead to contour the underbust. Remember, this is a bustier, so you have to contour the underbust. So from the waist dart passing through the underbust, you go in by 1/2 inch on both sides. Use your curved ruler to connect your dart from the underbust upwards, and then the straight part of your ruler to connect from the underbust to the waist, like so. So this will be cut off, and this is the bust dart to also be cut off. The next thing I'm going to do is to open up my waist dart up to the bust point, and also open up my bust dart. Close off your bust dart, pin this down, and make up for the shortage of pattern on the side. So this is the reason why we added about 1 inch extra to the side, so we can make up when we close up the bust dart. Now cut off your excess. So now the next thing we're going to do is to plot the shoulder strap. So from the midpoint of your shoulder towards the armhole area, I marked 1.5 inches for the width. From the shoulder to where the overbust dart starts from, I marked half of the measurement there, and then I connected with a curve to the 1/2 inch of one part of the overbust dart, just like I'm doing here. So this part now I'm highlighting with my hands would be for the strap. You can actually keep it like this, or you can do exactly what on the thumbnail by coming in by 1/2 inch from the midpoint of your just watch what I'm doing, you guys. So now connect the 1/2 inch on the half of the strap to the upper part and connect it to the 1/2 inch of the overbust dart. So now this would be the strap. This part is not what we would use. This part I'm highlighting would be the strap. Now cut it out. I'm cutting off my darts. Please do not forget to cut off your darts, okay? And cut off the shoulder strap. In case you did not really understand how I explained the shoulder strap, please just go back a bit and watch the video. So this is my front pattern ready. Now let's draft out the back. Just like we did for the front, add extra paper around the armhole area, because the side of the front and the back has to correspond, okay? So now firstly, I'll come up by the 1 inch on the side and also on the shoulder line. From the chest line, I'll come down by 1 inch for the neck width of the back. You can connect this directly to the chest line, but for me, I came down by 1 inch more. And now I'm just connecting my neckline. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark the midpoint of the shoulder like we did for the front and connect to the bust point, and then create a dart on our neckline of 1/2 inch on both sides. Connect your dart, and now you make up for the dart. Measure the both darts and make up for the shorter part of the dart and connect it to the neckline. So just make up for your dart so you don't have shortage of fabric, okay? Connect your side. Now for the shoulder strap for the back, just like we did, your shoulder width is 1.5 inches towards the armhole area. Mark the midpoint of that to the upper dart. From the midpoint, you come out by 1/2 inch. Use your straight ruler to connect from that 1/2 inch to the upper dart, and use the curved part of your ruler to connect from the midpoint to the shoulder dart. So that's exactly how I drafted the front, in case you did not really understand, okay? So now this part would be the strap for the back. This would be cut off. Now it's time to cut, cut, cut. Make sure you're careful with your pattern so you don't cut off an important piece. So after cutting, you can also label your straps, which is the back and which is the front, so you don't make any mistakes. Now let's pad. For the center front piece, which would be cotton fold, we would pad from the upper point to the under bust line. While for the side on the bust point line, I'll mark half of my nipple to nipple plus half of an inch extra for more coverage of the boobs. Now I'll just connect. Okay, so when you connect, make sure your padding doesn't go below your underbust. Okay, so now let's cut. This is the lining piece I already cut, folded into two. These are all my pieces. You add all necessary seam allowances. For the center front is cotton fold, but I'll add joining allowance, hem allowance, the upper hem allowance, zipper allowance, side allowance. Everywhere that there is a stitch, there is a seam. Okay, so work with your preference. For the straps, we're adding allowance all around it. So now go ahead and cut this out and also cut it on fabric. Now I'm done cutting on fabric. I cut 2 pieces of each. Now let's cut out for our padding. So I'll cut out the padding area. So this is the part for my padding. I'll cut it out. The only seam allowance I'll be added to the part is the side seam allowance. Fold your padding into 2 and cut out. So like I said, the only seam allowance we're adding is the side seam allowance. Okay, don't add allowance at the top or at the bottom of your pad. Cut out for your side as well. So after cutting, you take your lining piece. I'm padding my lining piece for this. You can as well pad your fabric if you want to. Okay, so place your lining, and I would tack my lining down onto my padding with hemming gum, because there's no ironing gum on this particular pad. So add hemming gum. Then all of my pieces, I will iron tissue gum onto them to give it more stability. Now I am done, and this is my front piece for my lining and my main fabric. I'll just join the both sides for the main fabric and the lining, and this is the pieces for the back. I'll join 2 sides for the left and 2 sides for the right. I'll repeat the same thing for the main piece. These are my shoulder straps. I'm sorry, I know it's looking really funny. So just match corresponding pieces. Now for stitching, we'll just close the both sides. Okay, close the both sides and turn this out through the shoulder part. This is my front. I gave this a good press to balance up my padding. This is my back piece ready. Now the next thing we're going to do is to attach our shoulder straps to the main piece. This is our shoulder straps, by the way. I forgot to show you guys. I almost forgot to show you guys. So this is my lining, well ironed. Now you take your straps for the front, making sure that you know how you drafted your pattern. Place your straps. And remember, these straps were drafted from the upper dart. So you place your straps on your dart. This is my front piece. Take your lining and place on it and turn it out through the neckline. I'll repeat the same thing for the back piece. Make sure you know which strap is which, okay? So you don't have to do this all over again if you make any mistakes. So take your time, pin down if you have to. Take the lining of your back piece and turn it out. Stitch the neckline, do a top stitch and turn this out. Now this is for the skirt piece for the front. These two pieces is for the back. Now to create the design on the center part of our skirt piece on the bottom, fold the length of your skirt into two, mark the midpoint. It depends on the width you want your piece to be. For me, I use 4 inches, so I cut a strap of 5 inches, folded in half of an inch at the both ends, so I was left with 4 inches. On the midpoint of my, which is the midline of my skirt piece, I marked 2 inches on both sides, so 2 inches top, 2 inches down, to make up for the 4 inches of the strap. So when you mark this, you take your strap and you place on the line. You repeat the same thing for the other side of the back, and also repeat the same thing on your front piece, okay? So when you're done doing this, we would also fold in, stitch on both edges. When you're done, you fold in your hem on all your 3 skirt pieces. Now this is my 4 pieces I already cut out for my pockets. Let me just demonstrate on how we are going to attach the pocket. So from the pass I'll be the waistline, you'll come down by 2.5 inches. Take your corresponding pocket piece and just place there. Stitch on it by 1 inch, that would be our seam allowance. Turn it over and give it a top stitch. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side and also on the corresponding side of the back. Now this is my half length. I already turned out my neckline, gave this a good press. I did a top stitch as well. This is my front piece done. Now to close off the side, I want to hide my side seam. So you place your back on your front piece and open up the side. So you turn this where the lining is on the lining and the fabric is on fabric, just like I'm doing here. Repeat the same thing on the other side of the back. Open it up and pin your sides. Go ahead and close this off. Close off the sides. Now the next thing we're going to do is to close off our shoulder straps. Make sure you do this right, so take your time. Now this is our skirt piece done. I also attached in my side pocket. This is my 2 back pieces. I placed them on each other. So now I'll close off the sides with my 1 inch seam allowance. Close off my pockets as well and do a gathered stitch on the waistline. Now I close off the side of my half length, and this is what I have with my strap on. Our dress is coming together. Now this is my down part. I already gathered this with my pockets and everything. Now you take your half length, you will join this together on the waistline. Make sure that your sides for the front matches with, like the side for the front for the down part matches with the side for the front for the up part. So your pocket can be on the sides, okay? So this is what I have now. The last thing to do for this gown is to close off the center back and also attach in a zipper. So take your choice of zipper, place where you want it to end, and close off the other side. Attach the zipper, and this is our final result. I already attached my zipper. Very easy to open and close. I love this gown. Okay, it came out really nice, as you can see from the beginning of this video. If you like it, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, recreate, and let me know on Instagram. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.